Hi, so today on the show I have Karen. She's the mom of Jack, a 13-year-old little boy that I've been working with for 3 years. He was diagnosed with autism, and at the moment he's nonverbal. He's an amazing little boy. I just adore him. So, Karen, nice to have you with me today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Hi, Jack.
Can you say hi? Can you wave?
Hi,
Wave.
buddy.
There it is.
Jack. Jack, I'm just gonna clean up a little, release some toxins from your brain and stuff, okay?
Is that
All
okay?
right. Okay? Yes.
Jack's yes.
So Jack, that's how he says yes. He taps his chin. So I call in Jack's higher self, my higher self, Jesus, the Arcturians, the Galactic Council, my quantum team, and the Paradise Union to come in today for this healing session for Jack. Please help him to feel 1,000 times better after the session before, and let everything we do today be for his best and highest good, surrounding us all in a sacred healing circle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Vacuuming out his brain of all toxins, bioweapons, chemical warfare, vacuuming out parasites, worms, larvae, and eggs from all parts of his brain, back from his brain, releasing it all, cleaning up the brain stem, all the neurons, the neurotransmitters, releasing it all. I want to send in some colloidal silver, sending in healing energies, sending in 369 healing frequencies, colloidal silver, structured water, sending it through the top of your head, flushing out the brain, going through the body, structured water, colloidal silver, flowing through the body, through the body, through the body. When Jack makes those squishy faces, we know, so he's feeling it. Sending that structured water, methylene blue, through the body, through the body. All right, we're just gonna do that. And that's basically this quantum healing that I do. It takes like seconds, minutes to release things, send him hot energy. So that was just a little bit. I just cleaned up his brain and sent him good energies. And did you feel that, Jack?
Did you feel that? Stop. He's kicking the cord to the computer. Sorry. Oh. Did you feel that? Isn't that tight? He said, yes, I feel good. Very stimmy right now. So he's stimming all the cords and things that are around him.
Jack, do you want to share anything? Do you want to say anything?
Can you put the cord down, please? Thank you. Do you want to say anything to Deb? Sorry. He's got a long sentence here. You're not going to believe what he just typed. He typed, my story is important. Please listen.
Oh my gosh. Jack, I love you.
You want to share your story with people? Do you think that's important to share your story so other kids know? Hello? What's the matter, squishy face? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jack uses RPM, so it's a little letter board. So he types out his words. Stop kicking that, please. He types out his words one letter at a time. So I have to figure out.
In whole sentences, like a whole.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been able to figure out how to, decipher what he's saying, but it's all like one big word because he doesn't really pause between words. So sometimes it's a little tricky to keep up with him. But he wants to love. He wants to tell his story, right? Right?
Do you have anything? Do you want to say anything else? You don't have to if you don't want to, hon. But
I'm very tired today. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Okay. He said, not yet, I'm tired.
Okay, so Karen's going to share her story, how life was prior to working with me, all the challenges Jack has had in the past, and then we'll talk about, how his life has been recently and the different things she's noticed. So, Karen, just you can start if you'd like.
Jack is our fifth child, and when we had him, everything seemed to be pretty normal, typical baby. And then when he was around, I want to say about 8 months old, we started seeing some changes in him. He had a doctor's appointment and got a bunch of vaccinations at the doctor's appointment. And things just changed pretty much overnight for him. Milestones that he had hit, he started losing, like sitting up. He couldn't sit up anymore. He wasn't making eye contact anymore. And, we didn't really know at the time what was going on. We never really had heard of vaccine injury. And, we went by the advice of our doctor to vaccinate him on his regular schedule. And whatever the vaccines were that at that appointment, there were a lot in one vaccine. In addition, he got a flu vaccine. And it just seemed to change his whole life. He went from being a very happy baby to being a baby that screamed all the time, who had a lot of issues with his stomach, and he wasn't sleeping anymore, wasn't crawling anymore. It was just really bad, very, very quickly. And we really didn't know what to do with it. We started talking to our pediatrician. He didn't really have much advice. And through friends that had children that were similar, that I had met, through work and through other experiences, I looked into some holistic doctors, and we started working with one when he was very young, and then another one when he was around kindergarten age. And, we started changing things with his diet, doing some supplementation. They found there was a lot going on with him. And they sent me to a neurologist who did an MRI and said that they definitely had evidence of a vaccine injury. And there was evidence of scar tissue in his prefrontal cortex, indicating that something had happened, like a stroke. So at that point, we just started working on detoxing him through his diet, through different detox baths and different supplementation. And it did help. At the time, compared to where he was. He had very aggressive behaviors, and, was just miserable all the time. It was terrible. And we lived like this for years. The doctors prescribed medical marijuana for him, which did help with some of his inflammation. He was diagnosed with PANDAS, with mitochondrial disease, with Lyme disease, and a whole host of allergies and mineral and vitamin deficiencies. So that's sort of how he lived his first 5 to 7 years. And it was just horrible. I mean, he was so skinny. He was in the 10th percentile for weight, and you could see all his bones. I mean, it was terrible. He wasn't absorbing any of the food that he was eating, even though he was eating constantly. He just couldn't absorb anything that he was, taking in. Fast forward back to when he was in like 3rd or 4th grade, we started getting a lot of complaints about him at school with aggressive behaviors that were starting at school. And the school really didn't know what to do for him. They didn't think that they had the right placement for him. So they wanted us to look into putting him into BOCES. And I just never wanted to give up on him having regular education in our school district like his siblings had. Even though he was in the special ed class, I just felt that, they had a self-contained class. He was in that, and he should be able to stay in that class. But it was the behavior. We had to get it under control. So we did try a whole host of things, and nothing seemed to work. And then when he was going into 6th grade, I believe. We met Deb by chance at a friend's house that told me what Deb did, and we started talking. And then shortly after that, Deb started working on him, and his behaviors almost immediately changed. I had been getting phone calls every day to pick him up early from school because they couldn't handle him in the classroom. To, what are you doing? What's so different? Why is he, he's like a different kid. He also started growing so much all of a sudden. He was putting on weight. He went from, like I said, being in the 10th percentile to being average, 50, 60 percentile in his weight. So he was taking in the same food he had always been taking in, but now he was actually absorbing the food and taking the minerals and vitamins from the food. He started sleeping better. He started just feeling better. And Jack had always typed, even though he wasn't verbally speaking to us, he would always tell us what he was feeling. And it went from every day complaining about being in pain, his joints hurting, his head hurting, to, I feel good. He felt so much better. So I think that was a big piece of the puzzle. Was, the pain was gone, the inflammation was gone. You really just changed his life in that respect. And then we went through the whole school year of him being worked on constantly. And by the end of the school year, I mean, he was a completely different child. And the teacher that had him in 5th grade had him for summer program. And she was like blown away by the difference in him in that school year. And she kind of chalked it up to, he's maturing or whatever. But in reality, I mean, he was hitting puberty. So it could have gotten much worse, but it did a complete 360. Like, he just was a totally different child based on, everything that had been worked on him. And we really weren't seeing any of the symptoms that we had been seeing prior. So we took him off all of his medications, and, he didn't really need the supplements or any of that stuff anymore. He seemed to be healthy and feeling great all the time. So, I mean, we still have our little moments where, behaviors come and go, or, with hormone changes. Now he's like shot up, he's taller than me, and he's growing like crazy. And, there's definitely fluctuations in his body with hormones and stuff like that. But I was really dreading these years. And I have to say, it's been so much better than I thought it was going to be, because I think because we had our secret weapon, Deb, Deb through it. So, yeah, I mean, and also, Debbie, through this whole thing too, she has been working on my whole family. My husband was very, very sick in 2021 with COVID. And from the very first moment he went into the hospital, he was there for a month. She worked on him every single day. And I would text her what his vitals were and his oxygen levels. And by the end of the day, after she had worked on him, everything had changed, and for the better. And the doctors couldn't explain it. The doctors didn't understand, because they kept saying, he's probably not going to make it out of here. But they were wrong.
Yeah, it's so amazing. The amazing part is a lot of what we've done has been through text. So we do have it documented from day one. I have, at the beginning of us meeting, we did a lot through text, and then I started the notebook, and I just kept notes of different things. And we've seen Jack grow so much, and he, him texting, and he's able to respond to what I do. We sit, now that I come to the house, you watch him as I'm pulling things out of his body. You're seeing him squishing his face, or like, making different movements. And, we see him looking into the sky, the air, in the room, but
no, definitely. I mean, I can see immediately when something is working on him. I can feel his whole body changes. You could see that he's like, he's releasing things. He's, the things he types, like, that was amazing. I feel so good,
Right.
Right. And asking you to do more, or, because that felt
Or,
so great.
Please stop. It's too much today.
Well, please stop. It's too much. Yeah. Like, my body can't take any more,
Right.
letting any more of it go for
Go.
now.
And then
that was the other thing when we first started working together, when, Deb did a lot of like detoxing with him. And this kid, she would leave my house, and within an hour, I mean, the amount that came out of this child He would have bowel movements that, I mean, we were like, how on earth is this much coming out of your little tiny body? Like, it was insane. And it would go on for like the entire night. And then he'd be like a new person the next day. Like,
and that happened like weeks in a row. So it wasn't like a coincidence. Like the next time I came, I'd do more and that would happen. Like,
no, it went on. I have to say the first 3 or 4 months that you worked with me and him, I mean, and it would happen to me too, because I'd be sitting, next to him and I'd be like, oh my God, like, what did you do to me? But I felt so much better. I mean, I had very bad irritable bowel syndrome. I haven't had a symptom since we started working together. I mean, my body is a totally different, and Debbie hasn't really worked on me as much directly, but I sit with Jack while she's working on Jack. And I, was on anxiety medication. I'm off that. I was on cholesterol medication. I'm off that. I've dropped 35 pounds. I don't have any stomach issues anymore. I don't get sick anymore. Like it's just, I don't get headaches anymore. I had horrible knee pain. I don't have that anymore. And I attribute all of this to just being next to Jack while you're working on Jack.
Right.
So it's impacting me as well.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so, like we had said, there's a spiritual side to this autism, the spectrum. These kids are very spiritual beings. Jack, as we know, he connects, he sees things that we can't see. Most children and animals and, empaths, this whole generation, these generations that are coming through, they're just very spiritual beings, and they're being attacked because they have a higher vibration. And so that's what he's able to tell us, like the bad guys are here, which are like dark entities and entities that are attacking him. I mean, it's a real thing.
Another thing that was part of his journey when he was about 7. Jack started typing around that age, and almost immediately when he started typing, he started talking about spirits that he saw and things that he saw. And my mom passed shortly after that, and he would say stuff, about my mother that only he would know, only I would know, but I didn't share. And, it became this thing where it was like, how did, he would talk about like, relatives that had passed on that I didn't even know about, that I would have to ask family about, and he knew stuff. So we knew he had a spiritual element to him even before I met Deb. But then when we started working together, he would say what he saw leaving his body and who was present and all this stuff about angels and things like that. And it was wild. It was really, and it's still going on. I mean, it's constant.
Oh, absolutely. Do you remember?
My non-believer husband is like, all right, Jack, who's here? Because he knows the look that he gets when either a bad guy or a good guy is here. And he'll be like, all right, who are you talking to? Who are you looking at? Because we know the look now.
Right, exactly. Do you remember the story when we first met and I was working on Jack? Jack didn't even know. I was just tapping in and I was releasing dark energies. And he said, tell that nice lady that's working on me.
Yeah.
She's like, don't send away Nanny. Only the bad guys, not Nanny.
Right. Don't send Nana away. Just the bad guys. Because my mother was here constantly with him, and she, that was always just a big hope that we would be able to help him,
Right. He had no idea you didn't tell him I was working on him. He didn't know. And he's like, he typed, tell that nice lady. I have it in my notes.
Yeah, no, I forgot that, but you're right. Yeah, that was one of those mind-blowing like moments where it was
like week 1 of us working together. Here we are 3 years in. But I mean, he's just seen, like you said, the teachers at school, they're like, you had told me the other day, like if we could have a whole room of Jacks, that would be amazing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it because he's more attentive.
Them saying like he's going to have to go into a BOCES program or an autism school because we cannot handle him. He's not going to be able to handle the next level. He's not going to be able to handle middle school, like the core program that's at the middle school. And now he's in 8th grade and he's, his last year of middle school. And I get that report all the time. God, we wish we had a class of Jacks because he's so good. He has his moments once in a blue moon where he'll get a little energy and he'll be running back and forth and maybe he's crying for the moment. But for the most part, called 911 Deb. I'm like, you just texted me. He's crying or whatever, and within 5 minutes, she's like, no, he's good now. So I'm like, oh, I wonder why.
It's so amazing. I mean, so many components, releasing the toxins, the parasites, the ancestral, there, like I said, there is the spiritual side of this. We do all have past lives and ancestral stuff that does affect us in this current life. And these kids are so powerful and so of the light. And it's just so interesting to we're just layers and layers and layers. The detox is a huge, huge part of it. Like you said, I think we've got that definitely under control now. And we're just, we're working on getting his muscle mass stronger, his function. And of course, he's nonverbal at this moment, but I know he's going to talk. I have a lot of
the other thing, he was always silent. He never really made a lot of noises or anything, except when he was upset. He would cry, he would scream or whatever. But now he's walking around the house making constant noise to the point where my husband and I hate to say it, are like, Jack, shh. We're trying to concentrate on something, and he's next to us making all these noises, but it's almost like how a baby vocal plays.
Right.
And I feel like he's experimenting with his voice a little bit, making all these different sounds that he really was never able to do, since he was a baby, when he was first starting to say little words and things, and then it disappeared, so.
Right. And I also remember when I first started working with him, he was definitely no eye contact. And a lot of these kids, he couldn't focus. He'd be looking all up. And then I literally pulled his spirit back into his body and boom, eye contact instantly.
Yeah. Well, even with his eye turn, that was one of the things, because he's got one eye that turns in, and we were never sure if it was a stim or if it was something that was an actual muscle weakness. He wears glasses for it, and it prevents fatigue, because we would see it more when his eyes were tired. But you would put his body back, his spirit back in his body, and the eye would be straight, and it would stay like that. And we were like, this is crazy. Like he it was instant,
instant. And then also there's so many stories. I mean, I thank God I have all this documented, but at the kitchen table, all of a sudden he'd start interacting, laughing at being more engaged and just focused and connected, and just, he's so smart. If you guys, all these, after our sessions, we asked Jack, to type for us, and the stuff that he says, he's extremely intelligent. He types words that I don't even know how to spell. He'll type these, and just that was amazing. That was phenomenal. One word, I don't know, I have to look back at our notes, but just he gives me feedback on what I did, and just, he feels, hey buddy. Oh my gosh.
It's been definitely, the one thing I always say is, I wish I found you when he was 2, when we first started working, realizing what was going on with him when he got his diagnosis. At a year old, I knew something was different, him being my 5th kid and also working with these kids. I knew something was off, but I feel like had we started this back then, my son probably wouldn't be dealing with half of what he's had to deal with,
Right.
But I'm just very grateful, because I see so many people that have children this age that can't take them anywhere. They're getting thrown out of their programs. Their parents have to put them in facilities because they can't handle the aggression anymore. I mean, they're bigger than us now. They're stronger than us. And, I'm just very blessed that I can take this kid anywhere, and I don't have a worry. I bring him on the airplane. I bring him we go on vacations. We go out to fancy restaurants for dinner, and he's there like a perfect angel. And, it's because he feels good. It's because he's not in pain like he was when he was little.
Right. I know people, it's hard for people to wrap their head around what this is, and what it is literally a God-given gift of what I'm doing. I connect, and I'm able to do something. I do communicate with my pendulum, but then I find out he's got lots of plastic or parasites, and I'm able to do something about it. I literally command them out of the body, and it's quantum healing on a level that's out of this world.
Well, I think the reason why, we were so open to it was because what came before you was him connecting with spirit. And I went to my autism doctor and I said to him, he was like, "What's new? I haven't seen you in 6 months." And I was like, "Well, Jack's doing this thing." And I told him how, he's seeing people that have passed away. He's seeing angels. He's seeing this and that. And he was like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like, for every 10 autistic children that come through here, 9 of them can do this. He's like, "It's just a thing. It's like one sense is shut down, so the other sense is enhanced. Another sense is enhanced that we don't have. And there's no ego with these children. So they're just open to whatever they see, just like an animal would be." So I feel like we had so many years of that prior to meeting you that I was kind of like in that point in my life where I'm like, there's got to be something else out there. You hear about Reiki and you hear about all these other things. And I didn't really know anything about energetic healing until I met you. But anything is worth a try when you have a kid that's suffering the way he was suffering. So even though he had already come to a better part of his life by the time we met you, he was in a different stage than he was in, obviously, at 2. But, as you grow and you put more toxins in your body, his doctor described him as a little dump truck that couldn't get rid of his load of garbage, like he was building up and building up and building up, and it was affecting every part of his body. And, by the time we got to you, he had released some of it, but the way that you were able to get the rest of it out. And I feel like now his body is finally working and doing what it's supposed to do. So
yeah. And back to that,
it was huge.
Back to that spiritual part and him seeing things, like, so he sees dark energies and energies of the light. He sees angels and dark energies. So this spiritual side of autism, like I said, at school, they may see him running around screaming and they think he's a severe case of autism. Meanwhile, he's seeing scary images in the classroom. Well, I think and he's scared.
Was when I went to my friend's house that time, and as soon as we pulled up the driveway, she lives in this home in Northport, which is very, very old. It was like a turn of the century home. And as soon as we pulled up, he lost his mind in the car. He did not want to get out of the car. He was freaking out and screamed for the whole time he was there until you started working on him. I had to text you, like, I don't know what's going on. And he just said that he saw stuff in that house that really freaked him out. And, at the time, I think had we not been working with you, I would have been like, "Oh, he just doesn't want to be here. Like, he's being difficult or whatever. It's behavioral. It's this, it's that. Or maybe he's not feeling good." But in that moment, I was like,
he's seeing something. And then
something here that's freaking him out. And we found out that something was with him for like 2 weeks, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
it was a good thing. It was Archangel Michael.
Right. Oh, right.
Yes. Guy, remember? He thought he was
he was so big. Yes. But so that's like, I am able to release dark energies, entities, evil spirits, whatever it may be, just cast them out, send them to the light and clear the space. Like, Karen will text me, "Jack's freaking out, 911," and he's screaming. And then within I release it. And within seconds, she's like, "Okay, he's calm now." Like, so, I mean, as far as like proof, and like we're living this for, we have so much content here and just proof of what I'm doing and that's working. And then his feedback that he's able to say he feels better, that, all the stuff. So it's just amazing. It's so great working with him. He's so sweet.
I think the best part for me, also working with children that some are on the spectrum, some are just language delayed, but I see so much at work now, and I'm able to look at it from a different perspective now. Like, oh, that's probably what's going on with this kid.
And they're probably seeing scary.
Right. And it really, it's helped me help my students, because I feel like I can relate to them a little differently than how I maybe at one time I would have thought, oh, they're just being, indifferent to doing the work or whatever we were doing. But now I'm looking at it like, I wonder if they're seeing something like the son would see, or, you know, this is something's attached to them, or, you know, it's a very, once you go into this world,
There's no turning back.
there's no turning back, and it's a very different perspective. And, you know,
Yeah.
now I also feel like it's opened me up to feeling like the energies in a room and certain people and going with my gut on how I
Well,
feel when I'm putting
exactly.
myself in certain situations, like, okay, I got to get out of here.
Exactly.
Because now I'm more in tune to it after working with you for so many years now. I feel like it's kind of impacted me for the better. I mean, before I would feel anxious and I'm like, oh, I just have anxiety. But now I'm like, no, there's something here
There's
that's
some dark energies. I mean,
right.
people,
Honestly, I mean, I think so much of the population is on anxiety medication, and I was one of them. And now I don't have, I mean, it's rare that I ever even get stressed out about something. I'm just very
Right.
much like, it's all going to work out. It must be this or it must be that. And
yeah.
I'll feel better shortly.
Well, I remember an incident with you at school. You're like, Deb, something like an entity, literally, you were
Oh,
ready
yeah.
to head to the emergency room. I'm like, they're not going to be able to
Yeah.
do anything for you at the emergency room. Like, all they're going to do is put you on, like, because we knew it was, you got attacked with some dark energy, and this stuff's real. And
I thought I was having a heart attack. I
you thought,
really
yeah,
did.
she thought, and I'm like, I'm on it. I got it. I'm releasing. Within what, an hour, you
Yeah.
came on, went back to work, and we're
I
fine.
came home from work, and then I ended up going back to work because I was like, that was so weird. I don't
You're
feel
fine.
anything now. I'm like a
But
new
think
person.
if you went that other route and went to the emergency room,
Oh, it
how
would have been a
things would have
disaster.
ended. They would have put you on drugs. They would have sent you home with a script. And meanwhile, it was some dark energies that were really attacking you, because we're
Yeah.
of the light. Like, it's like the more we try to go to the light, the more they want to pull us away from the light. Same thing with Jack. Jack is very spiritual. He's a powerful
Yeah.
being.
Oh, I
choose to
definitely feel like he
incarnate.
gets attacked.
We choose to incarnate here to help humanity and do things. And these kids are being attacked by these dark entities, whatever you want to call them, demon, dark forces. It's real. And luckily I can do something about it. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so amazing, right? So hopefully by telling our story, Jack has said he wants to tell his story. So we're ready to tell his story for him. So we just want to help other kids and let parents know that this is available. A lot of people don't know they have this option.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Nobody told me about it. You know, I knew about Reiki, but I didn't know anything about any of this. And I feel like that night that I went and met you at our friend's house, I just feel like that was, you know, I had been basically praying for months and months and months. I need help. I need something to break, you know, something to come up that's going to make a difference, because we were at such a bad point with him that, you know, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to get through puberty with this child.
Right.
It's so bad. I mean, they don't even want him at school anymore. Like, it's getting crazy. Something's got to give. Something's got to come into our world that's going to help. And then enter Deb. And, you know, if anything, in the very beginning, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. You know, it gave me a little hope at the beginning. But then after, you know, and I knew things were getting better. But then after reading all the stuff that when you printed out all of our messages, and I was like, oh my God, like, you don't realize
you forget. You lived it, you know, you forget
where you were at, you know, and even now, like, I'll look back on some of the posts that I had put out when Jack was 3 and 4 and whatever, different situations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even remember it being that bad, where, I mean, he broke my nose. He broke a couple of my fingers. I had bruises all over my body. Like, I don't remember a lot of this stuff. We tend to,
you're in survival mode, right? You're just like,
you block it out, you know, and then something triggers you and you're like, oh my God, I remember when he did that. And, you know, now it's almost unfathomable for me to think that my child was this aggressive little monster when he's like a mush now. I mean,
my God.
In our house, or I take him out places and he's like the first one to hug you and snuggle with you. And I mean, that wasn't Jack when he was little. He did not want people touching him. He didn't want to go near anybody. He was like, get away from me. I'm not looking at you. And now, I mean, anybody that knows him knows that
Right.
he's like a little love, you know?
But that's almost like a possession. Like these kids have entities inside of them, demonic forces, evil spirits, whatever you want to call it. Like it's not that, like that wasn't Jack. That was a dark energy inside him acting out and
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's just it's real, and I do this all day every day. It's like normal. I release entities. People like feel angry or agitated, and it's like entity. I release entities. They're like, oh my god, I feel so much better. Like it's just it's a war of good and evil, dark and light, and we're in this war, right? This spiritual war.
Yeah.
And light is winning, and we just they're trying everything they can to take out the light workers and the light beings, and so.
Well, I think that's a big part of why we're finally doing this, because, I've always
The world
been
is ready.
very private about this whole side of Jack. Like, not a lot of people know that he sees what he sees, and, that we work together. But now I feel like I'm at that point where, I work with so many families that have children like my son, that I feel like, how do I not share this with the world? I feel like we were given this opportunity to learn all of this and to work with all of this so that we could share it with all these families and all these people.
Right.
That some people might not be on board with it, they might not believe it, and that's their prerogative. But
Right.
I feel like I can't imagine going back to a time where I didn't have access to this, because it has made such an impact on our family. And like I said, I mean, you've worked with everyone in my house. You've worked with my 3 dogs. You've worked on my husband, all my other children, me, my father. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and some of my students, that I was just at a point where I'm like, something's got to give with this kid. And all of a sudden we figured it out,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't imagine not having this as a tool to help my family.
Right.
Even if it's not even medical, but just emotional. The different traumas your kids go through, the heartbreak, the bullying, the whatever is going on in their lives. I mean, this has helped so much just to clear them and to make them feel, I get these phone calls from the 3 that are away at school, like, oh my God, this happened. And I'm like, Deb, I need you. And then the next, a couple hours later, I'll check in. How you feeling? Oh, I'm fine. Like nothing happened,
And the other side of that is people, the parents don't know what else to do. So they bring the kid to a therapist, or then they get on drugs, then they end up giving them antidepressants, and that going down that road. Like we've been lied to our whole lives. We were never told this healing work is available, and it's been hidden from society, that we don't need to carry all these traumas and all this stuff from our past lives and ancestral lines and all this heaviness. We can, people go for massages and facials and all this stuff. Energy work is so much more important, and keeping,
it really is.
yourself.
Even that one time that you did have I had that thing that attached to me, and then I almost went to the hospital, when I had been telling my girlfriend about it that night. Whatever it was, she had the same symptoms that same night, and she, didn't know what to do. She was like, oh my God, I feel exactly how you were telling me you felt. And it was almost like it attached itself to her next. And she worked to, we did the whole thing. I went through it all with her, what you did with me. And I said, listen, just deep breathe, try to meditate, try to focus on getting this, getting past it. And she was like, oh my God, it took me like an hour, but I feel like a new person now. I was able to heal myself because I could, I could see it for what it was. I wasn't freaking out like, oh my God, I got to go to the doctor. And
that's the thing. Fear is the biggest emotion, low vibration. It's all that energy frequency. You're either in worry, fear, stress, anxiety, or raising your vibration into peace, love, and happiness and joy. And so many of us are living in this so many people are living in this low vibration and feeling hopeless, and there's no way out. And it's just, then the dark really attacks when you're dropped down to that.
Yeah. And, I was a big person of like, have a rough day, pour myself a big glass of wine kind of thing, to make myself feel better, to numb it a little. But now I have to say, I mean, the only time I really have anything to drink is when I'm going out with friends, and it's like a glass of wine and then I'm good, because I'm like, I don't really need this. Like,
right. Well, I always feel like if you're drinking
in my own body now.
right. If you're drinking in a place of numbing childhood trauma or whatever, it's bad. If you're drinking to be happier, going out and socializing in this in this 3D realm, then I figure, you know, it's not here and there, like we said. But
no,
yeah,
I mean, I used to use that as a crutch when Jack was little. Like, you know, it was either I was eating emotionally or I would have a big glass of wine to try to make myself like calm so I could sleep and feel a little more, you know, with the stress of having 5 kids and one being, you know, going through what he was going through. It was like a crutch of mine. And I don't want to say, I don't think I had a problem or anything like that. It was like a glass of wine every couple of nights, but it became like a crutch for me in some respects, because I did not know how to make myself feel better in those moments without it, you know, or without food. And now, you know, I was thinking about this today when I was driving around, and I was like, you know, it is rare that I go to a place where I'm not at peace.
Right.
I feel very much at peace almost 99.9% of my day.
Right.
And, you know, unless one of my kids is going through crisis or whatever, but even in those moments, like, I feel like I can,
you know, you got me on
kind of step back from it, and I can give them the tools to get through it, you know. And even if they do dump it on me, like they always do, you know, before I would be up all night thinking about it, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How do I help him? How do I help her? But now I kind of am like, all right, I can step back from it rationally and give them advice and then just sort of let it go, where I could never do that before. And I feel like that's been the biggest part of this whole journey for me personally, is just being able to kind of keep myself calm. Like, even when he's having a moment, I mean, you witnessed it. You saw a couple of weeks ago when Matt released something from him and he lost his mind, and you looked at him like, oh my God. And I didn't skip a beat. Like, it doesn't, right? Because
it just breaks your heart when you see, like, it was like I released the dark energy from him, and it was like trying to get back, and he was seeing it, and it must have been horrific. I like beyond his, it was, and I was like, okay, you gotta fix this, Deb. And I did it though, within it. It worked. We calmed him.
You know, in years past, I would get so frazzled by something like that it would almost take me over too.
Right.
But now I can separate myself from it and just be like, all right, we have to do this. We have to be calm. We have to, you know, whatever it is, it'll pass. But, you know, that's a huge piece for all of us parents, but especially for parents with kids, you know, with special needs, because it's very hard not to go to their level when they're reacting that way and they're having a day. It's very hard not to kind of feed into it and get beyond stressed out yourself. And I feel like now I've got the tools from you to be able to keep myself level, you know.
So it's been an amazing journey. Oh my goodness.
It has. It definitely has. And I can't wait to see what the next step is, because I feel like we've gotten through so many different things. And I feel like every week something new comes up that you do with him that we never thought of before.
Right. Well, that's like, we're kind of, Jack and I've heard from mediums that we were put together for a reason, to work together and learn and grow together and tell our story, tell Jack's story. And then like, it's like when I work with other kids, it's like faster for some reason. It's really interesting.
Well, I mean, look at some of the stuff he's typed with you, like, oh, you're getting closer, you know.
Deb's winning.
That was good. We're winning, and you're getting closer, you know, not there yet, but you're getting closer. And it's like, can't you just tell us, you know, what we're missing here?
I know, right? It's like,
I'll have a dream about something, and then I'll be like, Deb, I don't know if this means anything, but I dreamt about this last night. And you'll be like, oh my God. Yes, let's look into it. And then you ask your people and they're like, yes, that's a thing. Let's do that now. And it's like, we you know, we're kind of in this together, the three of us now, to try to figure it out. And I feel like definitely from when I first met you to where you are now, I've seen you come into your power so much more from the very beginning, all the different things that you've learned along with him, you know, working with him.
Yep. New stuff just drops in,
It
and
just
I'm
pops
like,
in.
I'm like, all right, let me write that down. I gotta work on that this week, and
Yeah.
so it's really, really interesting. There's more to come. I know Jack's we're continuing to work together, and
Yeah.
we would love to get him talking, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Big things are coming, and this opens up, just even putting this out to the universe and telling his story will shift into,
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think it's been huge, and I think that, there's definitely more to come with him. He's changed so much in 3 years, and so many things that we had no idea about have changed in his body, right?
Right. And like I said, for the teachers to notice it, and people are noticing it. They're like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because Jack's, like, they're seeing he's more attentive.
They thought I put him on medication, because they were like, it's such a difference in his personality and in his focus was the big thing that they all kept saying, like, wow, he's so focused now at school. Whereas before it was just, a constant redirection, trying to get him to sit, trying to get him to look at the board, trying to get him to look at people, trying to get him to work on his iPad. They couldn't get him to do anything. And, it's just come full circle, and to the point where they thought I medicated him. And I'm like,
Right.
if anything, he's on, less than he was when you people met him. Like,
right. Exactly. I mean, cleaning up the brain, they're targeting the brain with getting these heavy metals and these plastics and all this stuff in the brain, but cleaning that out and then healing the circuitry in the brain and connecting the neurotransmitters and the synapses and getting the energy flowing through the brain and breaking up scar tissue. Like, the stuff I do, it's just off the charts. I mean, just I can break up scar tissue, send it to the light, just send the parasites to the light, and reconnecting the energy centers and the meridians and the chakras, and just and that just like there was a short circuit in his brain, and it's not there anymore. It basically.
Yep.
Right, buddy? Feeling good? You tired?
He's tired. He's always tired after you work on him.
I know.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yes, exactly. To be continued. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
All right.
All right. Bye, Jack, buddy. Jack, can you wave goodbye? Bye,
He's waving, but you can't see the hand. Go ahead. Do it again.
Bye, Jack. All right. Thank you, Karen.
All right. No problem. Take care.
Good. Bye.